Krishna.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and all glories to the assembled devotees here at the Prabhupada Disciples Association. We're very happy to have you join us for another wonderful Saturday morning discussion of Bhagavad-gītā As It Is, the unedited version. And a chance for us to come together spiritually online. It's a new way of preaching for many of us, that we're able to communicate with so many people around the globe on this subject of Krishna consciousness. And recently, one of our participants asked me a question about following all the different Goswamis and Acharyas in the disciplic succession that we are a part of. And I wanted to give him a simple answer. The answer is this: you don't jump over the Acharya and go worship the 6 Goswamis. You follow the spiritual master who is representing the previous Acharyas. So Srila Prabhupada is in fact, Janas Priya Prabhu was mentioning how Prabhupada is very closely presenting this philosophy according to his guru, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada. So, like that, when you follow in the footsteps of your spiritual master, then you're automatically connected to all the other gurus, all the other acharyas in our disciplic succession. That's the system. And unfortunately, there is a lot of confusion, as we're seeing, not only in groups that are separate from the ISKCON group, but also within the ISKCON group, there is a lot of confusion philosophically in terms of how to practice Krishna consciousness, how to do initiations, how to offer your food, what is the method, the best method for becoming Krishna conscious. And we want to acknowledge that this is due to a lot of chaos, like Prabhupada predicted after the departure of our spiritual master. And this is unfortunate, but it's a reality. And we feel confident that our group that have assembled, and all of you that have come forward to participate in it, are on the correct path of spiritual understanding on the way back home, back to Godhead. We're on the correct path. And this you should have confidence in, like we do, and that through this understanding of the philosophy that we're presenting in the Prabhupada Disciples Association group, that our membership won't be cheated. There is no personal motive from anyone in this group for profit, adoration, and distinction. And that is the most important thing, the motive, the intent. Like in law, for example, whatever your intention is one of the first things that the judge and jury look at. So our intention is simply to gather association with other like-minded Vaishnavas and practice this process of Krishna consciousness in their association. And like I said, some of us have been on all the classes. So we have over 170 programs that we've promoted from here. 170. So this should speak for itself. And we haven't missed one. And some of you, like I see our Prabhu in North Carolina, Jiva Goswami Prabhu, he comes to all the classes. Is he interested in Krishna consciousness? Yes, he is. And the proof is in the pudding, his attendance, his participation. Some days we may not want to come or we can't make it, but for whatever reason, his consistency is a demonstration of his commitment to becoming Krishna conscious himself, personally. He's interested in making advancement through the association of like-minded Vaishnavas. So all of you, we appreciate your commitment to the attendance at these programs, which give us a chance to practice sadhana bhakti in this association of like-minded individuals. This is the proper use of the internet, and this is the proper use of our time. So thank you very much, Prabhu, and all the Prabhus here who somehow or other make it to this program every week without fail. And we have 3 classes a week. And we also, before we start, I wanted to mention that we are producing a very, very nice Vyas Puja book to Srila Prabhupada as a reflection of our efforts as a community of devotees. And we humbly request you, please write an offering if you can. We only have about 35 offerings right now, which is certainly not a reflection of the number of people that do participate in our programs, both online, on YouTube, and in Facebook, for example. We have over, in my particular network, I have over 17,000 people that I'm connected with through social media. And certainly having 35 or 40 people giving offerings right now is not very many out of the total number, even from the group that we're connected with. But please encourage your friends, your devotee friends, and people that are interested in studying Prabhupada's original books and his instructions to please submit an offering. And we have a deadline of August 31st, and then we'll continue to prepare the book. It's looking very nice, Jiva Goswami. It really is. The opening articles that are being managed by our senior editor, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, are quite enlivening. So between all of the articles and all of the offerings and all the photos and the layout and design of this particular book, it'll be a real beautiful tribute to our guru, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda. And that's what we're doing. We're acknowledging him as Jagat Guru for all the modern society that we live in and all the different sects or groups that are in it. So we're going to move forward. It's quite exciting, this diary reading that we have going on. And it's moving forward to September. Well, we're at Sunday, September 18th. So it's a year now that Prabhupada has been in America officially, when he got off the boat in 65. So if time marches, as we are all aware how quickly time moves for every one of us. So Prabhupada, this time has been moving forward with him, and now he's opened the storefront at 2nd Avenue, and things are moving quickly, and he's doing less input into his diary right at this time. And so I did come across a poem here that was written by Hayagriva. So this has been inserted at after September 18th. So I'll read that poem. It just gives us an insight of the sentiment or the appreciation that the new disciples that Prabhupada was accumulating, how they felt about him. 2nd Avenue Samadhi by Hayagriva. Das Brahmachari, Howard Wheeler. Standing outside the storefront of Swamiji's Society for Krishna Consciousness, I look up and down Manhattan's 2nd Avenue at derelicts, Puerto Ricans, and sundry fruitive laborers, and wonder. Hare Krishna, I think, and look at the Cosmos Parcels Express Corporation sign across the way, like the very cosmos itself, in its white and green aggression, and at the Gonzala Funeral Home and Witzner Brothers Memorial Corporation's heavy tombstones broadcasting death to all, and at the Red Star Bar's Seagram's 7 sign blinking red and yellow relief for exhausted karmis, poor fruit of laborers. Hare Krishna, I think, and walk down the sidewalk past the revolving red, white, and blue mobile gasoline sign buzzing and ringing bells of gas pumps, feeding the dumb steel chariots of Detroit. Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, I think, wondering what Swamiji must think of God Bless America. And walk on down the sidewalk, silent cigarette butts that stare up like little crushed universes of capitalism. And think Hare Krishna on the corner of Houston Street and 2nd Avenue, where I stand a long time thinking, Hare Krishna, hands in my pockets and watching the dying sunlight fade over buildings and off this far silver parapets of the Brooklyn Bridge that reaches ever the river like an altar to Krishna. So, quite an interesting first-hand experience by Hayagriva of what it was like back then. We'll go to Thursday, September 22nd. I thought it was important for us to read this. I believe this is the first initiations. The 4 boys, Bruce, Charles, Stephen, and Keith, initiated with Harinam. Harinam, first initiation. And here we get the footnote. It's Brahmananda is Bruce. Achyutananda is Charles. Steve is Satsvarup Das. And Keitham is Kirtananda Das. Very interesting, seeing this early manifestation of Prabhupada's evolution of accumulation of disciples. And if you look at this, Prabhus, think about these different people, how they ended up. We're not going to discuss it, but you just can study this history by yourself. Very fascinating. Prabhupada would say it's not who starts the race, it's who ends the race. Friday, the 23rd of September, today Visa Office sent their decision not to extend further for me to stay. All the members are startled. They want me to stay. We went to perform kirtan out of New York City, arranged by Green, and it was nice. And we are invited by the Ananda Ashram and Mr. Mishra. That was a kind of a strange place, but nonetheless, it was a chance for Prabhupada to get out and present himself and his disciples at that time to the public at this Mayavadi center. Monday, 26th of September. Today, the trustees resolved that legal steps should be taken for my stay. And they are prepared to spend up to $500 for this purpose. Terrific. So things are moving forward. And with this announcement from the government that they didn't want Prabhupada to stay, it enables everybody else to step up and increase their devotional service to the spiritual master and his mission to spread Krishna consciousness globally. So we'll go now to our Jayarada Madhava bhajan to be sung by Srila Prabhupada. Everybody sing along, please. And as well at the beginning in the verses, please chant along and be a part of the class like a live class in the temple, but we're doing it online. And Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu will be delivering the reading and discussion. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jai Amaspat Paramahansa Parivrajaga-Acārya Sattara Small Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava ki Jai, Nāma-Acārya Sri Haridas Thakur ki Jai, Prem se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki Jai, Sri Sri Radha Krishna Mokh Gopinath Sam Khanda Radha Khanda Giri Govardhan ki Jai, Vrindavan Dham ki Jai, Navadvip Dham ki Jai, Ganga Mai ki Jai, Jamuna Mai ki Jai, Guru Dwarka Dham ki Jai, Swami Bhaktivedanta ki Jai. All glories to the Assemblage. All glories to the Assemblage. Thank you very much.
All glories to you, Srila Prabhupada. All glories to you, Prabhupada. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagar Jatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahaguna Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha E Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpati Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostuti Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Welcome everyone to this reading and discussion on Bhagavad-gītā As It Is. We will be reading today from chapter 9, I believe text number 16. All purports, translations, and synonyms by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, Founder-Ācārya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, also known as the Krishna Consciousness Movement. Aham kraturaham yajñah svadaham mahamoshadam mantroham mamivajyam ahamagniraham hutam aham I kratuhu ritual aham I yajña sacrifice svadha oblation aham I oshadam healing herb mantraha transcendental chant aham I. Eva, certainly. Ajyam, melted. Butter. Aham, I. Agnihi, fire. Aham, I. Uttam, offering. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. But it is I who am the ritual, the sacrifice, the offering to the ancestors, the healing herb, the transcendental chant. I am the butter and the fire and the offering. Purport. The sacrifice known as Joshti Stoma is also Krishna, and he is also the Mahayagna. The oblations offered to the Pitri Loka, or the sacrifice performed to please the Pitri Loka, considered as a kind of a drug in the form of clarified butter, is also Krishna. The mantras chanted in this connection are also Krishna, and many other commodities made with milk products for offering in the sacrifices are also Krishna. The fire is also Krishna, because fire is one of the 5 material elements and is therefore claimed as the separated energy of Krishna. In other words, the Vedic sacrifices recommended in the Karma Kanda division of the Vedas are in total also Krishna. Or, in other words, those who are engaged in rendering devotional service unto Krishna are to be understood to have performed all the sacrifices recommended in the Vedas. Text number 17. Pitaham asya jagato mata data pitamaha vidyam pavitram omkara riksamaya jurivacha. Pita, father. Aham, I. Asya, of this. Jagataha, of the universe. Mata, mother. Data, supporter. Pita Mahaha, grandfather. Vedyam, what is to be known. Pavitram, that which purifies. Omkaraha, the syllable Om. Rik, the Rig Veda. Sama, the Sama Veda. Yagyaha, the Yajuhu, the Yajur Veda. Eva, certainly. Cha, and. Translation. I am the father of this universe, the mother, the support, and the grandsire. I am the object of knowledge, the purifier, and the syllable Om. I am also the Rik, the Sama, and the Yajur Vedas. Purport. The entire cosmic manifestation, moving and unmoving, are manifested by different activities of Krishna's energies. In the material existence, we create different relationships with different living entities who are nothing but Krishna's marginal energy. But under the creation of Prakriti, some of them appear as our father, mother, grandfather, creator, etc. But actually they are part and parcels of Krishna. As such, these living entities who appear to be our father, mother, etc. are nothing but Krishna. In this verse, the word Dhata means creator. Not only are our father and mother part and parcels of Krishna, but their creator, grandmother, and grandfather, etc. are also Krishna. Actually, any living entity being part and parcel of Krishna is Krishna. All the Vedas therefore aim only toward Krishna. Whatever we want to know through the Vedas is but a progressive step to understand Krishna. That subject matter which helps us purify our constitutional position is especially Krishna. Similarly, the living entity who is inquisitive to understand all Vedic principles is also part and parcel of Krishna, and as such is also Krishna. In all the Vedic mantras, the word Om, called Pranava, is a transcendental sound vibration and is also Krishna. And because in all of the hymns of the four Vedas, Sama, Yajur, Rig, and Atharva, the Pranava or Omkara is very prominent. It is understood to be Krishna. Text 18. Gatir Bhartaha Prabhu Sakshi Nivasaha Sharanam Surit Prabhavaha Pralayastanam Nidhanam Bhijamavyayam Gatihi Goal Bharta Sustainer Prabhu Lord Sakshi Witness Nivasaha Abode Sharanam Refuge Surit Most Intimate Friend Prabhavaha Creation Pralayaha Dissolution Sthanam Ground Nidhanam Resting Place Bijam Seed Avyayam Imperishable. Translation: I am the goal, the sustainer, the master, the witness, the abode, the refuge, and the most dear friend. I am the creation and the annihilation, the basis of everything, the resting place and the eternal seed. Purport. Gati means the destination where we want to go, but the ultimate goal is Krishna, although people do not know it. One who does not know Krishna is misled, and his so-called progressive march is either partial or hallucination. There are many who make as their destination different demigods, and by rigid performance of the strict respective methods, they reach different planets known as Chandraloka, Suryaloka, Indraloka, Maharloka, etc. While all such lokas or planets, being creations of Krishna, are simultaneously Krishna and not Krishna. Actually, such planets, being the manifestation of Krishna's energy, are also Krishna. But actually, they only serve as a step forward for realization of Krishna. To approach the different energies of Krishna is to approach Krishna indirectly. One should directly approach Krishna, for that will save time and energy. For example, if there is a possibility of going to the top of a building by the help of an elevator, why should one go by the staircase step by step? Everything is resting on Krishna's energy. Therefore, without Krishna's shelter, nothing can exist. Krishna is the supreme ruler because everything belongs to him, and everything exists on his energy. Krishna, being situated in everyone's heart, is the supreme witness. The residences, countries, or planets on which we live are also Krishna. Krishna is the ultimate goal or shelter, and as such, one should take shelter of Krishna either for protection or for annihilation of his distressed condition. And whenever we have to take protection, we should know that our protection must be a living force. Thus, Krishna is the supreme living entity. Since Krishna is the source of our generation, or the Supreme Father, no one can be a better friend than Krishna, nor can anyone be a better well-wisher. Krishna is the original source of creation and the ultimate rest after annihilation. Krishna is therefore the eternal cause of all causes. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha I offer my respectful obeisances unto my spiritual master, our spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, who has opened my eyes, who has opened all of our eyes, with the torchlight from the darkness of ignorance, with the torchlight of transcendental knowledge. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatyadeshatarine Bhakti Siddhanta Shishyaya Bhaktivedanta Namine Prasannaya Prashantaya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Bhagavad Vandanam Khadyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sharkara Yuktam Kadatihi Visheshataham Adadana Strinam Danter Idam Yachi Punaha Punaha Srimad Rupa Padam Bhoja Dhulisyam Janma Janmani Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Rup Sanatana Bhatta Raghunata Sri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunata Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So here we have some very important descriptions by the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna of how he is everything. We have seen in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad-gītā, text 19, Bahunam Janmanamante Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samahatma Sudurlabhaha, that those great Mahatmas, after many, many births of devotional service, they come to understand Vasudeva Sarvamiti, that Lord Vasudeva Krishna is the source of everything and is everything. So in these various texts of Bhagavad-gītā, Krishna goes to various points, especially Vedic types of sacrifices. It's important to note in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srila Prabhupada describes how Jiva Goswami has quoted from the Sandarbhas that for any sacrificial performances, it should begin with the chanting of the holy name of Krishna and end with the holy name of Krishna. Krishna is everything, but all these sacrifices are meant for pleasing Krishna. So all the paraphernalia, the mantras, the ghee, the wood, everything, the fire itself, this is all a manifestation of Krishna. We see also in the Bhagavad-gītā, in chapter 7, there is description, Krishna says, Pranavaha sarva vedeshu. I am the symbol of Om, the syllable Om in all the Vedic mantras. Syllable Om is non-different than Krishna. So this is very important. Further on in the Bhagavad-gītā, we will see in chapter 15 that Krishna describes that I am the goal of all Vedic studies. That all the purpose of all these Vedic studies is to understand Krishna. Vedeshta sarver aham eva vidyaha vedanta krid vedavid eva chaham. Krishna described the study of Vedanta. This is manifestation of Krishna. To know Krishna is the goal of all study of Vedas, Vedanta, everything. He is the goal of study. If one does not come to understand Krishna, after studying the Vedas, means he has failed. He is not understood. This is what Krishna is telling us here. In text 17, he says, I'm the object of knowledge, the purifier, and the syllable Om. I am also the Rik, the Sama, and the Yajur Vedas. Very important. Prabhupada explains in the purport, all the Vedas therefore aim only toward Krishna. Whatever we want to know through the Vedas is but a progressive step to understand Krishna. That subject matter which helps us to purify our constitutional position is especially Krishna. Similarly, the living entity who is inquisitive to understand all Vedic principles is also part and parcel of Krishna, and as such is also Krishna. In all the Vedic mantras, the word Om, called pranava, is a transcendental sound vibration and is also Krishna. And because in all the hymns of the four Vedas, Sama, Yajur, Rig, and Atharva, the pranava or Omkar is very prominent. It is understood to be Krishna. So this is a very important point, because we know in India especially, there are various classes of Vedic followers, especially the impersonalists, who also study the Vedas. But they come to a very different conclusion than the Vaishnavas. We see in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the first canto, in the first 3 chapters, Srila Prabhupada makes many references of how to understand the Vedas. What is the real purpose of studying the Vedas? What are the Vedas for? Veda means knowledge. And the end of all knowledge, Vedanta, is to understand the personality of Godhead Krishna. We see in the Brahma Samhita, we've often discussed this, our Lord Brahma is describing in these prayers to Lord Krishna, Vedeshu durlabam madurlabam atma bhakto, that to understand Krishna through the via medium of the Vedas is not so easy. The language is very technical. It is very esoteric in many places. It is not so easy to understand. But Vedeshu durlabam, adurlabam atma bhakto, for one who becomes a confidential devotee, then adurlabam, it becomes easy. Why is that? Because Krishna only reveals himself. Bhagavan describes himself to the Bhakta, Shuddha Bhakta. This is quite significant. There's a very interesting verse in the Padma Purana where Lord Krishna is instructing Narada Muni, Naham tishtami vaikunte yoginam hridaye shubha, that I do not reside in Vaikunta, nor in the hearts of the yogis. Where does he reside? Tatra tishtami narada yatra gayanti mad bhaktaha. For those souls who are devoted to me, who engage in bhakti, in Shuddha bhakti, in pure devotion, this is where I reside. So one may study the Vedas, one may become a big Sanskrit scholar, but if one does not come to understand Krishna, then it becomes very difficult to understand the personality of Krishna. One can only understand the personality of Krishna by the mercy of a pure devotee of Krishna. In the same Brahma Samhita, we see Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santa Sadeva Vridayeshu Vilokayanti Yam Shama Sundaramachintya Gunaswarupam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. That in order to understand Krishna, one has to smear the eyes, Premanjana Bhakti Vilochanena. One time a reporter asked Srila Prabhupada whether or not he saw God. Prabhupada replied that even if I tell you I saw God, how will you understand? Unless you are trained, unless you know what is God, how will you know? and Prabhupada quoted that verse from the Brahma Samhita. Says you can see God if you develop the eyes to see him. And that verse from Brahma Samhita is the explanation of how to develop the eyes to see Krishna. How to develop the eyes to see Krishna. It's very important because one has to go to a pure devotee, Shuddha Bhakta, to understand the real meaning of Krishna, Krishna's abode, Krishna's qualities, Krishna's pastimes. The esoteric, the real meaning of Krishna has to be understood by hearing from a pure devotee, fully realized pure devotee. Because unless one hears from a pure devotee, one may be misled. One may be thinking he's making progress. One may be thinking that he is advancing, but in reality he may not be. Of course, Krishna's mercy is manifested in various ways. As soon as a living entity starts to develop some eagerness to understand him, Krishna is very kind. He gives the living entity all sorts of facilities. But one also has to be aware that on the path of bhakti there are many misleaders. Many persons who tend to cheat and mislead others, misrepresent the original teachings. That is why great acharyas, especially our last three acharyas, Bhaktivedanta Thakur, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and our Srila Prabhupada, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, they had a certain approach to practicing Krishna consciousness. They were emphasizing the Briyat Mridanga method of preaching, of literature, distributing devotional literatures, and preaching to make the path of devotional service very clear and understandable. In the history of the Gaudiya Sampradaya, according to Bhaktivedanta Thakur, for a certain period of time after the disappearance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the 6 Goswamis were there. Lord Chaitanya departed in 1534, and the Goswamis and Krishnadas Kaviraj, they were around for the remaining part of that century. But afterwards, in the 1600s, 1700s, 1800s, there was a dark age of the Gaudiya Sampradaya. Bhaktivedanta Thakur alluded to this in his journal, Sajjanatoshani, where he described that after the disappearance of Lord Chaitanya, many persons, the personality of Kali disguised herself and basically introduced many wicked ideas that had infiltrated the Sampradaya of Lord Chaitanya. So one has to be aware to hear from proper sources. Very important. Unless one hears from a proper source of a fully realized pure devotee who is engaged in the service of preaching the mission of Lord Chaitanya, one may misunderstand. Of course, one has to use his intelligence also. There is Krishna's mercy, but one has to use his God-given intelligence to discriminate properly. There's an old saying in English, God helps those who help themselves. How do we help ourselves? By hearing. Shravanadi Shuddhachite Karayodai. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is described by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami that this bhakti process is there in the heart of every living entity. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kabunai. There's no need of an artificial process to revive this love of Godhead. How do we do it then? He further goes, Shravanadi, by the process of hearing, chanting, remembering, serving. The 9 process of devotional. Shravanadi Shuddha Chitte Karayodai. it's interesting that Prabhupada several times, especially for devotees that were initiated devotees, raised the issue of people shaving their heads, shaving their mustaches, their beads, and their goatee. And several times people ask Prabhupada why, because that is the standard. That is the standard given by the Acharyas. So this is also maybe a detail. Somebody say, well, I'm doing work in the material world, I have a job, this and that. Well, there's a lot of people out there. There's a lot of people out there who are not even devotees. They keep their head shaven. Why is it that they can keep their head shaven and many devotees can't keep their heads or their beard shaven? I was personally in Prabhupada's presence a few times. Myself and Mahamsa Swami, we grew beards for Chaturmasya in Hyderabad in 1976. Prabhupada came for the opening of the Radha Madan Mohan temple, and he sent his personal secretary telling us to come and see him. So we went to see Srila Prabhupada, and Prabhupada was very grave, very stoic. He says, what is this beard? Why you are growing this beard? And we told Prabhupada, well, we're observing Chaturmasya, Prabhupada. And Prabhupada, we didn't even finish the sentence. Prabhupada says, no, we are preachers. You should shave your head. Keep your head shaven every 2 weeks. Very important. And Prabhupada says, now you can go. So we went and got our head shaven, came back to see Prabhupada. And Prabhupada smiled. And Prabhupada, from now on, every 2 weeks you shave the head. There was another incident in Hawaii of one devotee who came to see Prabhupada with hair, beard, mustache. And Prabhupada asked him the question, this was in the evening when Srila Prabhupada was drinking his milk. And Srila Prabhupada asked this devotee, who are you? And this person says, oh, I'm your disciple, so-and-so. And Prabhupada says, no, you're not my disciple. And the devotee was stunned. And then he started to argue with Prabhupada, but you initiated me at such and such place, such and such city, such and such time, at such and such temple. Prabhupada said, no, it doesn't matter. You're not my disciple. And he kept arguing. And then Prabhupada pointed out to Paramahamsa Swami and Guru Kripa Swami, he says, this is disciple, shaven head, tilak, dhoti, morning program, evening program, 16 rounds. This is disciple, not this beard and long hair. And some way or other, this person kept arguing. And Prabhupada took his cup and he slammed it on the desk. He says, I'm an old man. Let me drink my milk. You can go now. So Prabhupada, I also heard a very similar story in 1970 when I came to the Los Angeles temple. One devotee told me a story of how one disciple had left. He left the temple and he was in Maya. So the devotees went to Srila Prabhupada and asked him, well, what about your initiated disciple? He left. And Prabhupada raised the point, what disciple? What discipline is he following? I says, he may have been initiated, but if he doesn't follow my instruction, if he doesn't follow the discipline, how is he a disciple? So this is a good instruction to all of us. We're not trying to point the finger to anybody. That is not the idea here. But this tendency of many devotees, especially initiated devotees, many times senior devotees, to carry on with this beatnik and hippie mentality of growing hair, growing beards. This isn't the first thing. They should shave it up. Follow Prabhupada. Don't do it because I'm trying to tell you. That's not the idea. Do it because Srila Prabhupada is trying to tell you. That and the chanting. Just like I was referring to Jiva Goswami, he gives advice in the Sandarbhas that before any sacrificial ceremonies, there must be the chanting of the holy name of Krishna in the beginning and at the end. That is very important. So for devotees who have taken initiation, made a commitment to chant, they should chant. Make the effort. Structure your life in such a way that you will chant your 16 rounds. I had a conversation in 1993 in Orlando, Florida with a devotee. He had been a fairly senior devotee, done a lot of service for the mission, and he explained to me how he had a problem with his chanting. And I said, well, if you drive a car, you can listen to a tape of Srila Prabhupada chanting japa, and you can chant at the same time. When you get up in the morning, you pay your obeisance to Prabhupada. First thing, chant a couple of rounds. If you have to drive the car, use this modern technology and chant your rounds. It all depends on the desire, how serious we are to follow Srila Prabhupada. One devotee in Los Angeles in 1970 told a story how he was in Prabhupada's room and Srila Prabhupada was discussing about seeing Krishna, about how to see Krishna. And Prabhupada explained, don't be in such a hurry to see Krishna, but act in such a way that Krishna will want to see you by your service, by your devotion. This is the whole idea, the whole practice, how to reach that spontaneous attraction for Krishna, not artificially like the Sahajiyas, but factually, by service, by dedication, by surrender. Srila Prabhupada so many times explained that the whole process of Raganuga Bhakti, of spontaneous devotional service, this is something that one practices eventually after following the regulative principles strictly. Naturally, the anarthas will disappear. One will get a taste for Krishna. And Prabhupada explained that if you become liberated, if you come on the Brahmabhuta platform, if you become free from sex desire, free from all material desires, then this Swarup Siddhi, this Siddhideha will be revealed to you. This is a very important point because devotees several times asked Srila Prabhupada. For example, there's one conversation with Srila Prabhupada. I'm trying to see here the page. This is a conversation that took place in Bombay, India on April 25th, 1970. No, this one is on February 10th, 1971 in Gorakhpur, India. A Srimad Bhagavatam lecture on February 10th, 1971 in Gorakhpur, where Srila Prabhupada says, the change is taking place in this material world. There are all tastes are fixed up, rasa, eternal rasa. Every one of us has a different taste of associating with Krishna, and that will be realized when one is liberated. Sadhuda. So that's fixed already? Prabhupada, yes. When you are liberated, you will understand in which way you are related with Krishna. That is called Swarup Siddhi. But that is attained when you are actually perfect in devotional service. Just like on our family, we enjoy different rasas. We have got one kind of relationship with wife, one kind of relationship with sons and daughters, one kind of relationship with friends, one kind of relationship with servants, one kind of relationship with property. So similarly, Krishna, the whole creation is his family, and he's got relationship in that way. So why the son will change his relationship into husband and wife? Sadhuda, I see. Prabhupada, yes, because every relationship is very palatable. The gentleman, the head of the family, his relationship with wife and his relationship with servant is as much palatable. Maybe some degradation, but it is palatable. There is no question of changing, not that I'm tasting this rasa at the present moment, then I will get better rasas. No, That is not. Everyone thinks my rasa is the best. Although there is comparative gradation, but everyone thinks these things are explained in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Why don't you see? Hamsadutta. In Nectar of Devotion, Prabhupada, yes, everyone thinks my relationship with Krishna is the best. Hamsadutta. So it is not a matter of aspiring to some Prabhupada. No, there is no question of aspiring, because he's already situated in the best of relationship with Krishna. Even the trees in Vrindavan, they want to serve Krishna silently in that way, supplying fruits and flowers. That is their ananda. Everyone enjoying the supreme bliss. When Krishna comes, takes a flower of fruit, that is their enjoyment. So this is just one of the examples of Prabhupada explaining the proper path to develop this spontaneous relationship with Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Jai, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much. And further, by definition, God in these verses is discussing the greatness of Krishna. And in the purports by Srila Prabhupada, and by definition, God means and includes, in the Nectar of Devotion, it says everything. So everything is related to Krishna. On the transcendental platform, and this material world, in simple terms, is that which is not Maya. It does not exist in another sense, because it's temporary. Most religions understand that God is great, but they have very little knowledge of the details of how great God is, Krishna is. In Christianity, specifically Catholicism, they have a book called the Catechism. Catechism, is it? I can't remember. I was raised as a Roman Catholic, so we were indoctrinated, let's say, by the explanations from the catechism. And I still remember vividly, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, that they were showing God in a photo in the book, and it was a picture of a big desk, and someone sitting behind a desk, a judge with no face. So this was God, the supreme judge over everything that you do. And then they have a concept of heaven and hell and purgatory. So God would judge you at the time of death. If you committed mortal sins, you would go to hell. And if you committed venial sins, you could go to purgatory. And if you were a good person, you didn't commit any sins, you went and did your confessions to the priest every week and had your so-called prasadam, then you could go to heaven. So very, very vague explanations of spiritual life, the Garden of Eden, and Adam and Eve and the apple, etc. So this is very limited information of who God is. Krishna, we learn from the Gita that God is Krishna, and he's our friend and our guide, like he's guiding Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. And this is the same for all of us, following in the footsteps of Arjuna. That's our position here. And I wanted to refer to Vinkat Bhatta Prabhu, to text 35, chapter 4, Transcendental Knowledge. Here in the Bhagavad-gītā, where Krishna says, Yajgatva na punar moham evam yashashi pandava yena bhutani yaseshani bhaktyas yasi atmani ato mayi. Translation: and when you have thus learned the truth, you will know that all living beings are but part of me, and that they are in me and are mine. So we go down to the second paragraph. It's a very illuminating bit of information by Srila Prabhupada. For want of sufficient knowledge in the absolute science, we are now covered with illusion. And therefore we think that we are separate from Krishna. Although we are separated parts of Krishna, we are nevertheless not different from him. The bodily difference of the living entities is Maya, or not actual fact. We are all meant to satisfy Krishna. By Maya alone, Arjuna thought that the temporary bodily relationship with his kinsman was more important than his eternal spiritual relationship with Krishna. The whole teachings of the Gita is targeted toward this end, that a living being as his eternal servant cannot be separated from Krishna, and his sense of being an identity apart from Krishna is called Maya. The living entities as separate parts and parcels of the Supreme have a purpose to fulfill. Having forgotten that purpose since time immemorial, they are situated in different bodies as men, animals, demigods, etc. Such bodily differences arise from forgetfulness of the transcendental service of the Lord. But when one is engaged in transcendental service through Krishna consciousness, one becomes at once liberated from this illusion. We get so infatuated with our lives, We think we're so important or so knowledgeable. But in reality, it's all an illusion anyway. One can acquire such pure knowledge only from the bona fide spiritual master. That's Srila Prabhupada. And thereby avoid the delusion that the living entity is equal to Krishna. Perfect knowledge is that the Supreme Soul, Krishna, is the supreme shelter for all living entities. And giving up such shelter, the living entities are deluded by the material energy, imagining themselves to have a separate identity. Thus, under different standards of material identity, they become forgetful of Krishna. When, however, such deluded living entities become situated in Krishna consciousness, it is to be understood that they are on the path of liberation as confirmed in the Bhagavatam. Muktir hitanvan yata rupam swarupena bhavyastita tati. Liberation means to be situated in one's constitutional position as the eternal servitor of Krishna, Krishna consciousness. And Venkat Bhatta Prabhu, if you could go to chapter 5, text number 18. Vidya vane sampane brahmani gavi hastini suni cheve swapake cha pandita samadarshanaha. The humble sage, by virtue of true knowledge, sees with equal vision a learned and gentle Brahmin, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog-eater. So Prabhupada was explaining today how a devotee sees everything in relation to Krishna. And finally, in Sankhya Yoga, text 32, chapter 6. Text 32. Yes. Atmano pamyena sarvatra samam pashyati yojurna sukham va yadi va dukam sayogi paramo mata. He is a perfect yogi who, by comparison to his own self, sees the true equality of all beings, both in their happiness and distress, O Arjuna. Yaśodā, if you could further comment.
This is a very important point. Srila Prabhupada in one lecture quoted that verse to say, this is the vision of a Mahabhagavat. He sees everyone as servant of Krishna. He sees everyone equally. In the material world, we see with conditioning. We have conditioning vision because we do not understand the position of Krishna being present in the soul of every living entity. So this is a very important verse and very important point. I'm going to read a few chapters here, a few paragraphs from a lecture Prabhupada gave in New York on December 2nd, 1966. December 2nd, 1966, Srila Prabhupada is giving a lecture on Bhagavad-gītā text 15:18. In the middle of this lecture, Prabhupada said, so Krishna, Lord Sri Krishna, is describing about the fruitive activities, sacrifice. In sacrifice, we require so many things, dravya yajna, by material things. We require clarified butter, we require grains, we require mantra, chanting, and fire. So many things we require. So Lord Krishna says, aham karaturaham yajnaha, svadaham aham aushadam, mantroham aham evajyam, aham agniraham mutam. Now all this paraphernalia for sacrificing a yajna, for performing a sacrifice, the fire, the butter, the clarified, the wood, and the mantra, and other paraphernalia, everything is myself. Everything I am. That's true. Because everything is produced by his energy. Anything, whatever you take, that's a transformation of energy. Parasya brahmana shaktihi sarvedam akilam jagat. Whatever you're seeing in the universal manifestation, they are simply manifestation of the different energy of the Supreme Lord. Just like in this room, this illumination is the energy of this light. Therefore, we're seeing each one another. Similarly, as the fire is placed in one place, but it distributes its heat and light. Similarly, although the Lord is in his supreme abode, his energy is acting. The same example, just like the sun planet is far, far away, but its energy, sunshine, is all over distributed over the manifestation, material manifestation. So he is everything. Pitaham asya jagatu mata data pitamaha vedyam pavitram omkara riksama yajuri vacham. Now he says, Pitaham asya jagataha. I am the father of this material world. How he becomes father? What is the definition of father? The father is he who gives the seed. He is father. And again he says, Mata, I am mother also. What is the definition of mother? Mother received the seed from the father, and the child is born. Similarly, this material energy is the mother. This we've got from this body from mother. So this matter, material covering, is the mother. And I am spiritual spark, the seed. I am the part of Supreme. So the material energy is also the energy of the Father. And as I am a spiritual spark, I'm also a part of the Supreme. So he is my father and mother. Therefore, somebody worships the Supreme Lord as mother, goddess Kali, or that is materialism. Because in the present conception of our life, this body given by the mother is matter. Therefore, worship mother means worship the matter. That's all. There are so many worshipers of mother. You worship your country, that is the same, material worship. That is called Shakti Upasana, Shakti. Shakti means you are worshiping the energy of the Lord, not the Lord directly. You are worshiping the energy. All this nationalism or so many isms we have discovered, they are. Even the scientists. Scientists also, they're worshiping the mother. He's finding out the complexities of the matter. He's also worshiping mother. So materialism, that is called materialistic. One who is worshiping the mother material energy is called Shakta. There are 5 stages of evolution: Shakta, then Ganapatya, then Saura, then Shaiva, then Vaishnava. In this way, there are 5 stages. So the impersonalists, they worship in 5 ways, Pancha Upasana. They're called Pancha Upasana. So one, when he comes to the Vishnu stage, he comes to the real stage. But impersonal Vishnu, all-pervading Vishnu, when he comes to the personal Vishnu, then that is perfection of worship. So any kind of worship the Lord accepts in this way. But that acceptance and devotional acceptance is different. If you are worshiping materialism, that's all right. You get material benefit. Actually, you are getting. But that is not spiritual. Ye yatamam prapadyante tam stateva bhajamyaham. One who worships the Supreme Lord materially, he gets material benefit. And one who worships spiritually, he gets spiritual benefit. But you cannot expect spiritual benefit by material worship. That is not possible. Everything accepted as the worship of the Supreme, but they have got different results also. Just like in ordinary life, you are working in office as a clerk. You cannot expect the salary of the High Court judge. How can you expect? As you are working, you'll get a salary. Similarly, everything is God, that's all right. Everything is government service, but a foolish constable is not equal to the magistrate. He can say, a constable also can say that I am in government service, that's all right. But you're not equal to the magistrate. You're not equal to the High Court judge. You may be government servant, that's all right. So similarly, everything is worship of God, that's all right. But you cannot be equal to the supreme worshiper, Nachamam. There is nobody dearer than me, than he. In Bhagavad-gītā you'll find. So our ultimate aim is how to become in confidence of the Supreme Lord. So if you want to be in confidence of the Supreme Lord, then you have to take this devotional service. Bhaktyamam abhijanati yavan yaschasmi tatvataha. The Lord says, one can confidentially understand me by bhakti, by devotional service, not by any other means, bhaktya. It is clearly stated. So if you want to be directly in touch with the president, then you have to work differently. And if you are satisfied to become a constable in a government service, that is a different thing. You cannot contact. So these are very nice explanations by Srila Prabhupada of how to approach Krishna, how to serve Krishna, and how to understand how Krishna is within everything and also separate. Hare Krishna.
Excellent. I see in the chat someone's made a comment, this Nityananda Das. He said, I've have more references from Srila Prabhupada, where Prabhupada says we must read the Goswami's books. How this should be up for discussed and not swept under the rug. Very interesting comment. I wanted to read, just to answer this Prabhu's point and give him some direct advice from Prabhupada, not from us, who understand the value of Prabhupada's book specifically as the most important thing for us to connect with at this time. Only Prabhupada's books are to be studied, Nityananda Prabhu. And this is a letter from Sri Govinda, January 20th, 1972. There is no need for any of my disciples to read any books besides my books. In fact, such reading may be detrimental to their advancement in Krishna consciousness. All reading of outside books, except in certain authorized cases, such as, for example, to read some philosopher like Plato to make it an easy comparing his philosophy with Krishna's philosophy. But otherwise, all such outside reading should be stopped immediately. It is simply another botheration. If my students cannot even read my books thoroughly, why should they read others? I have given you TLC. What is the need to read Chaitanya Charitamrita translated by someone else? You are right to stop such reading. Srila Prabhupada letter to Sri Govinda, January 20th, 1972. I knew him. I used to go to Chicago, distribute books. This is Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela, chapter 22, verse 118 in the purport. One should not partially study a book just to pose oneself as a great scholar. So that's Madhya Leela, chapter 22, verse 100, purport in verse 118. One should not partially study a book just to pose oneself as a great scholar by being able to refer to scriptures. In our Krishna Consciousness movement, we have therefore limited our study to the Vedic literatures, to the Bhagavad-gītā, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. These 4 works are sufficient for preaching purposes. They are adequate for the understanding of the philosophy and the spreading of missionary activities all over the world. If one studies a particular book, he must do it thoroughly. That is the principle. By thoroughly studying a limited number of books, one can understand the philosophy. And then further we can read. So there is nothing to be said new. Whatever I speak, I have spoken in my books. Now you try to understand it and continue in your endeavor. Whether I can present or not present, it does not matter. And that is the arrival speech of May 17, 1977. It seems very, at 75 years of age myself, it seems pretty clear what Prabhupada is trying to tell all of us in terms of our understanding of the philosophy. It is not confusing. It's as simple as what we just read here. And it's not an effort to, put something under the rug. This is simply reading and hearing and understanding. And if you read the books carefully, Nityananda Prabhu, you'll realize that everything is contained in these books, and it's not necessary at this stage anyway, unless you're on some special mission to change this instruction in any particular way. Jonas Priya Prabhu in Hawaii, is there any points you'd like to make further in the discussions of today in terms of the greatness of Krishna and how we can see him? Let's hope he's there.
Unmute me. There we go.
There you go.
All right. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Please accept my humble obeisances. Thank you again for promoting this amazing environment where we could come and hear the philosophy as Prabhupada put it out, instead of as we think it should be this way or that way. So it's very refreshing as I mentioned, I attended this European conference, and it was interesting. But coming back to the Sangha, where I don't have to worry, I know everything I hear from these sources is going to be as pure as it can be. Why? Because only on this Sangha we're not promoting any false gurus, we're not promoting any false practices or sampradayas, or we're not following some far-out Babajis from Radhakund. No. We're following A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda. And for us, that's the greatest gift that anybody could have. If anybody becomes in contact with this pure knowledge as is being presented, then that's all we need. Prabhupada says it very clearly. First, you have to practice sadhana bhakti, and Krishna will reveal from within your heart. It'll come from within. Prabhupada doesn't say somebody's going to come and tell you, oh, you're this or that. No, he says from within. So we're not so eager to be in a particular rasa. At least I'm talking for myself. I'm happy as to be a humble servant of the devotees. If I could attain that position, then I know I'm on the right track. Why? Because all the devotees that are really following Srila Prabhupada, they're only going to quote from Prabhupada's books, and we don't need to speculate. We don't need to try to figure out anything. He said, you don't need to invent anything, nothing. Simply follow what I've given you, and you're guaranteed to go back home. So why, if we got the deal, the best deal ever, Prabhupada is the only person who has come to this planet and given this opportunity for anyone to at least try to understand who you are, who Krishna is, what's your relationship with Krishna. And the best way to do this, Bhagavad-gītā 4:34. Just we try to learn the truth from who? From some far-out Babaji, from some Western guru that has no real knowledge or basic understanding of Prabhupada's, of Krishna's philosophy. No, we learn from the pure devotee. And where did the pure devotee get his knowledge? From another pure devotee, his spiritual master. And this goes directly to Krishna. So we don't need to improve on Krishna's program. We don't need to improve on the parampara in our Prabhupada Sampradaya. I consider myself that we're in the Prabhupada Sampradaya, and I heard that there's predictions that in the future there'll be this Prabhupada Sampradaya will be understood as Prabhupada's Hare Krishna movement. That's the potency. That's the potency of pure devotee that he could establish very firmly on this planet, that Bhagavad-gītā is the book, Krishna is God, and Maha Mantra is our prayer. Very simple. He says, this is very easy for the simple, simple for the simple, and very complicated for the complicated. So if somebody wants to be follow whatever other instruction that they definitely, there's so many millions of instructions, that's fine. I myself, and I think most of us here, we're very, very happy just to follow Srila Prabhupada's instructions to the best of our ability. And we understand that that's all I need. That's my understanding, that this is all I need. And the best way to do that is by reading Prabhupada's original books, associating with those people that are explaining this. And it's very, very simple, and at the same time, it's very, very blissful, because we don't need to be implicated in some rasas that just because we heard something from somebody, we think we understand, and oh yes, this is me. No, we could not jump. Prabhupada says this, going to other instructing gurus out of our Hare Krishna movement is jumping, he said, is monkey business. And what does the monkey do? He jumps over. And Prabhupada says, I don't want monkeys. So we don't need to be monkeys by jumping. We simply follow the process as Prabhupada told us, and then we are guaranteed. We are guaranteed. Why? Because this is not an experimental process. There's hundreds and thousands of great personalities. If you read the scriptures, they're all been liberated through this process of sadhana bhakti. So that's my 2 cents. Hare Krishna, Hari Bol.
Thank you very much. We've reached, unfortunately, the end of the discussion and reading today, but I see, I don't know if Nityananda Prabhu had a chance to hear me speak or quote the Prabhupada quotes. You might have been at some other talk about ISKCON legal matters in regards to BBT I saw in your notes. So I'd be happy to discuss with you, Prabhu, maybe later today or tomorrow, any points that you have as friends, and see if we can satisfy you in terms of the philosophy and what we're preaching. And I wanted to move forward because we have a few announcements which are very important. And one is the Vyasa Puja book that we're producing. And Venkat Prabhu, could you please bring that up on the screen for everyone to see the cover? And possibly you could show some of the articles that will be appearing at the front of the book that we're providing for people to read before. So here's the cover, and we're asking people to please write an offering to Srila Prabhupada on this appearance day of 2023. Even if Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu said, even if it's a simple sentence or two, that's sufficient. Whatever you feel, but make an effort to present an offering to Srila Prabhupada on that important day. Venkat Bhatta Prabhu, could you show some of the articles? I think Nityananda Prabhu would like to see the kinds of articles that we're putting in at the beginning of the book, the magazine, or the book, I should say, not a magazine. And they're very informative articles which deal with a lot of different topics in terms of our sampradaya and how we understand it and see it. Let's see if he's got that he can put up.
I don't really have them ready to show right now.
You could just show the list. You don't have to show the articles. Do you have the list there? Not the articles, just the list. Just so people can see the headings. Yeah, so here they are, and real gurus versus ecclesiastical gurus, our Paramahansa Parampara, Vrindavan Bhajan, Prabhupada's offering, the prediction compiled by Maheshwara Das, some statistical reflections on the awesome stature of the Acharya by Hansaduta. It's a very interesting article. I think all of you will like. I know you will. Prabhupada regarding bona fide guru and false pretender gurus. Srila Prabhupada explains O Vaishnava Thakur, Nitya Siddha and Nitya Bada, from Prabhupada presented. Srila Prabhupada states that he is the representative of God. Explains Shri Guru Charana Padma prayers, Samsara Davana Lita Loka. the Founder-Ācārya by Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu. So if you want to submit an article to us, we'd be happy to see it. And this will be the opening, and then we'll have the offerings. You can see we've got some offering. I told you, Nityananda Prabhu, the class is over. I asked you if you were here earlier. I did answer your question, and I'm prepared to discuss with you another time. But simply to, put your hand up and think that we're not talking to you. I'll spend days talking to you, Prabhu. I've been talking to you for 4 years. 4 years, brother. If you want to get into a conflict with me, go ahead. We're trying to explain something. We're promoting a Vyas Puja offering. Just listen. Just be humble. So the fact of the matter is that we're asking everybody to submit these offerings for this month. If you've written one, Nityananda, we'd be happy to put it in the book. And we'll move forward now to the kirtan. It's 11:38. We're 10 minutes over the program. And finish off today's Bhagavad-gītā. Tomorrow we'll be back with Srimad Bhagavatam, and we can go ahead with our continued sadhana bhakti.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivāsadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivāsadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivāsadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha
Yascha,
kripa sindubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Haribol.
Haribol, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Comment allez-vous, Prakrita?
Je vais bien, et toi?